Hi, my name is Karin Zandakis, and I'm doing my literature review on strategies to reduce the opportunity gap in mathematics. The problem statement is that students of color perform worse on tests and assessments than white students due to a series of inequalities and institutionalized racism. This is known as the opportunity gap, and it affects students from the time they enter school well through adulthood. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, the opportunity gap is when one group of students outperforms another group and the difference in average scores for the two groups are statistically significant. Why should we care? Well, as educators, we have an obligation to provide an opportunity to learn to all students, and currently this obligation is not being fulfilled. Students of color are denied the opportunity to learn through systematic oppression and institutionalized racism. Research question. Does using manipulatives during math instruction help reduce the opportunity gap between 4th grade students of color and their white peers on math assessments over the course of one math module? Down at the bottom of the slide, I have some example math manipulatives, but it should be noted that a math manipulative can be any concrete object that either a teacher or a student uses in order to help students understand abstract math in a concrete way. So there's a lot of literature about the opportunity gap, and there's also a lot of research about effective strategies to teach mathematics. However, there isn't a lot of literature about best teaching practices to reduce the opportunity gap in math, and that's going to be the focus of my literature review. So a brief summary of the opportunity gap. Students of color frequently perform worse on tests than their white peers. When white students do better on assessments than students of color, it is due to a series of privileges that white students are born with and oppression that white culture forces upon students of color. Tests are written assuming that all students have the experiences, vocabulary, and knowledge that predominate white culture, giving white students an advantage on assessments, even standardized assessments. School segregation continues to play a huge role in our country and in the opportunity gap. California is one of the most segregated states in the country due to the rising Latino population, although it should be noted that African American students are the most racially segregated group in the country. Students of color typically attend schools with inadequate facilities, less qualified teachers, fewer course choices, and less access to financial resources. Even though outright segregation is illegal, de facto segregation is prevalent, and we can see this in communities like Salinas, where at the school that I used to teach at, the majority of my students were Latino. The school wasn't legally segregated, however, it was de facto segregated. So the opportunity gap in math is noticeable as soon as students enter school, and it only continues to grow as students get older. By middle and high school, students of color are tracked into lower level math classes, even when they score in the top percentiles in math tests. Less than a third of schools that serve a majority of students of color offer advanced math classes such as calculus, compared to 50% of all schools nationally. Taking higher level math classes is directly linked to post-secondary advantages such as college admission, graduation, and future earnings. Interventions to end the opportunity gap in math. Researchers suggest that teachers use meaningful learning experiences, academic rigor, cultural connections, and a profound belief in students' capabilities to reduce the opportunity gap. Teacher expectations need to be equal for all students. However, usually teachers will have higher expectations for white students than they do for students of color. This leads to a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle where students of color perform worse, and then both students and teacher accept low grades because that's what they both expect. Teacher expectations also leads to lower self-efficacy for students of color in math. Students that only receive direct instruction also do worse on tests and assessments than students that have more meaningful learning experiences. Students of color can benefit from learning abstract math using concrete math manipulatives. So, using math manipulatives to reduce the opportunity gap in math. Students that use concrete manipulatives have a better understanding of abstract math than students that don't. Once students are introduced to math manipulatives, students are able to self-select manipulatives in the future. Students of all ages and ability levels are able to engage meaningfully in mathematics by using math manipulatives. Students are able to reach a higher level of comprehension by using manipulatives in the classroom. Students that have access to math manipulatives are able to take their learning from one concept and apply it to another mathematical topic. Next steps. So the hypothesis for the present study is that 4th grade students of color will perform better on math assessments if they have access to math manipulatives daily over the course of one math module. This experiment will be conducted at a school in Central California. Both groups will take a pretest in the beginning of the study to measure their current levels. The intervention group will use the adapted curriculum, and the teacher will supplement the curriculum with math manipulatives. The teacher in the control group will only use the scripted curriculum. At the end of one math module, both groups will take a post-test, and the researcher will measure the difference in scores between students of color in the intervention group and the control group. So that's my literature review. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.